Jane, will you marry me?
Of course I will. But what about your wife? Is the divorce final?
There are still some things I need to work out.
Divorce is very difficult, Gabriel.
I have connections, money. Jane, trust me, will be final by the end of this month.
It's been a month now, Gabriel. Do you have any intention of getting a divorce?
Of course I do. I'm doing everything I can.
But you're not getting anything done. I pictured us living in a castle by now, having hundreds of rooms, half of which we've never even explored. But Elizabeth is getting in the way. Do you still have feelings for her?
Of course not, Jane.
I need some time to think.
Of course, dear. What are you doing here?
I came to pick up some of my things and ask about our separation.
Of course, may put some of your things aside.
I think I've misunderstood the meaning behind our separation. I thought we were just taking a break from each other after all the fighting.
I thought so too.
But it changes things now that you found yourself a tramp.
How dare you? Jane's a respected woman. It was never like this with you.
Well, I'm sure you two have a deep bond. I didn't think you'd throw away our marriage this easily.
I love Jane.
I pity Jane. You'll only do the same thing to her.
Hi there, honey.
Are you okay? You look distressed.
Elizabeth dropped by to pick up some of her things.
How's it going?
I still have a couple calls to make.
Well, I prepared the maid to get us a nice roast for tonight's dinner.
That sounds great. I'll be there at 7.
First of all, can you describe to me your relationship between Mr.
Williams. Well, we were engaged. We proposed a month ago. It seems like just yesterday. We were going to move to California. We even broke the news to our maid, Rose.
Who's that young woman downstairs?
Elizabeth. She was, or still is, married to him.
So he was still married when he proposed to you?
He was in the process of a very difficult divorce.
Is this your first marriage?
No. I was married once before, but he's no longer with us.
I'm sorry. So, Miss Atkins, where were you at the time of the murder?
I was taking a bath, getting ready for tonight's meal. That's when I came downstairs, and I heard a scream. She was standing over him, Elizabeth, with a letter opener covered in blood.
So you were in the house during the time of the murder. You must have heard the struggle.
I did hear a scream, but it was only Elizabeth's.
Are you sure of this?
Yes.
Shall I bring you some tea? Yes, please.
Thank you, Rose.
Thanks, that'll be all. I'd like to speak to Miss Williams now. Do you mind bringing her in here?
No, of course not.
I didn't kill my husband,
Now, Miss Williams, I'm not here to make any accusations.
but I know what you must be thinking. Jane must have told you that I killed him.
Oh, Miss McSadden, what perfect timing. Do you mind if I speak to you privately?
Of course not.
Can you take this, please? How long have you been working for Mr. and Mrs. Williams?
About 4 years.
And where were you at the time of the murder?
I went out to the butcher shop to get a roast for tonight's dinner. When I returned, Jane told me the horrible news.
And how would you describe the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Williams?
Mrs. Williams has confessed to me numerous times that she has had thoughts of murdering Mr. Williams.
You've changed your apron.
Yes.
It all makes sense now. Miss Williams, do you remember some time ago that there was a debate between Mr. McFadden and your husband?
Yes, but it was nothing. He worked for a competitor who tried to steal one of his formulas. It was a huge scandal that erupted in the news.
Is that what he told you? I was working undercover for the police during that case. I have evidence that shows Mr. McFadden is the real inventor. Unfortunately, the case wasn't resolved in time, and Mr. McFadden was left penniless.
Well, what does this have to do with the murder?
Don't get ahead of yourself, Miss Williams. Mr. Williams was found stabbed in the back, and Jane heard no struggle from upstairs. So, if he died from loss of blood, he would have at least yelled out. All these details lead to one conclusion.
Elizabeth?
Please, Miss Atkins. I believe that the cause of death was not the stabbing. It was poison.
Oh gosh.
But what was the point of stabbing my husband?
It was the murderer's goal to frame you, Miss Williams.
But Elizabeth did it. I know she did it. She was standing over him, the letter opener.
The murderer was no fool. They knew what a messy divorce you were going to. They knew the pain that it was causing you, and they knew it gave you the perfect motive.
Elizabeth is a monster. She's a terrible woman.
Not as horrible as you, Miss Atkins.
Excuse me?
When I was looking through your room, I found this letter addressed to a Mr. Bishop.
That is none of your business. You have no right.
It says that once you married Mr. Williams and received money from him, you would be able to marry this Mr. Bishop.
Jane, you steal Gabriel from me, and now I find out you never loved him? You're sick.
It's true. I won't deny it. I never loved him. I needed the money so I could get married to Mr. Bishop.
How dare you?
Calm down. This is besides the point. Miss Williams, you said you received a letter from Mr. Williams inviting you to discuss the pending divorce. And if you remember the scandal between Mr. McFadden and your husband, you'd notice one thing. That there is only one person in this room that could have committed this horrible crime. And that is Rose McFadden.
This is preposterous!
Walter McFadden was your father. Your family was having troubles around the time of that scandal. Especially your mother, who was dying from a terrible disease. Your father couldn't afford the operation to save her life. He created a formula in order to receive this money. But his new formula for his latest medication was stolen by Mr. Williams. Suppose you wanted revenge.
How dare you accuse me of such horrible crimes? It was Elizabeth!
I did nothing.
You decided to seek revenge for your father's suicide and your mother's death by becoming Mr. Williams' maid. I suppose you've been plotting this murder for a long time.
How could I have murdered him if I was at the butcher's store? I wasn't even in the house.
Well, I applaud you for your cleverness, Miss McFadden. First, you copied Mr. Williams' handwriting. Then you went to the kitchen and fixed a deadly cocktail to poison him. Then you drew a bath for Jane to keep her busy while you were killing Mr. Williams downstairs. But you made one fatal mistake. There was poison on your dress. I saw it as you came in to bring us some tea.
You have no evidence.
I have enough to put you behind bars. Stop! In the name of the law, stop! It seems like she's been planning this murder for a long time. I found this receipt in her bag for the Titanic. I'll have police stop her when she gets to New York.